The trade tariffs and global instability prompted the International Monetary Fund to downgrade South Africa's economic growth outlook from 1.5% to 1% for 2025. I spoke with Enoch Godongwana, the South African finance minister, on the sidelines of the IMF-World Bank meetings, and asked him about how his country is responding.
Let me just start by saying, we'll have to revise our forecast as well in the light of what the IMF has said. Our forecast was 1.9. In the light of what is happening globally, we'll have to revise our forecast and develop a new forecast. We've got 4 pillars of our growth. The first one, which underpins everybody, is macroeconomic stability. We're focused on achieving that. But secondly, since 2020, we've been embarking on a number of structural reforms, which, if successful, will also release and unblock the economy and trigger some growth. Thirdly, is the capacity, particularly at a local government level, and there's many resources that go into that level, which are being we want to improve the capacity of states to be able to deliver these things, which unlock resources. And fourth leg is massive investment on infrastructure. We're putting R1 trillion investment over the medium term.
Minister, you talk about these structural reforms. Can you tell us what they are? What are you planning to do?
We're dealing with something, just for instance, the regulatory framework which was governing the energy sector, in particular electricity, which was making it difficult for the private sector to invest. We've opened that market now, even in terms of institutions. We're beginning to think it's the same on rail. We've had a problem with visas to make sure that we can improve tourism. There's a whole range of these reforms.
Now, South Africa is an export-oriented economy, and we've seen the United States impose tariffs in a wide range of countries, South Africa included there as well. What steps are you taking to mitigate the effects of the tariffs that have been imposed on South Africa?
Let me just say, the tariffs affect manufactured goods largely. The mineral resource sector is exempt. So there has been an engagement by our trade counterparts to look into what exactly could be done. And that informal discussion has led to our trade and industry colleagues developing a proposal which they'll be putting across to USA counterparts.
You have a significant agriculture sector as well. Yeah. That will be affected, won't it?
Very much so. Very much so, including citrus, which is strange because we've got different kind of seasons. Citrus is a winter crop kind of a fruit. Now, when you've got summer, you can rely on when we've got summer, we can rely on your citrus. So I find it strange that we should be having that, but of course it's something that's going to be resolved through the debate and discussion.
But citrus growers, for instance, have expressed concerns over these tariffs. It's a significant sector of the economy. In fact, they've gone as far as to say that there could be some towns which are so dependent on citrus exports that they could shut down. Yeah,
on the Sanders River Valley, it's largely a citrus area in the Eastern Cape, which depends entirely on that. I agree it could entirely be affected.
On infrastructure development, the country's been experiencing bottlenecks in infrastructure, particularly, as you point out, in electricity generation. This is something that's key to the country. Could you give us some idea of the investment that is planned in that particular sector?
Let me just say just on renewables, since 2010, we've moved in bringing in the private sector. In that sector, there's about 500 billion rand, which has been invested in renewables. There are about 22,000 megawatts that are going to come on stream from that sector. So now a bottleneck becomes transmission, we're developing a new funding formula for transmission, which is coming into place.
Another challenge for the country is unemployment. I mean, unemployment has been running at very high levels. Looking at the figures here, it's 31% according to some figures. That goes up to 45% if you look at unemployment among youth. What kinds of fiscal policies or incentives will you be taking to encourage the private sector to increase employment on the one hand, and then on the part of the government, what efforts are going to be made on things like skills development?
We are reorganizing. We've set up a committee which deals with what is called labor market, active labor market policies, which look at the... It's not that we don't have the funding, it's just what we're not using that effectively. So you will see that active labor market policy committee is looking at how to integrate most of those policies. For instance, on skills, we generate about 25 billion rand per annum, which is purely for skills. And we're not seeing a change or an impact on skills. That is what we want to deal with.
On funding, South Africa has also faced challenges on tax collection, tax receipts, that is. There's a very small percentage of South Africans who pay a very large amount of income tax. I mean, what kinds of reforms do you envisage in improving your tax collection?
Let me start about why you have that small amount. It's an income issue. If you look at your personal income tax, 47% of it is paid by 490,000 people out of 7 million people because of the income factor. That's one set of the question now is how do you broaden that base? You broaden that base by putting more and more people into employment. So we need to, that's why I'm saying we're investing in more growth and putting more and more people into employment. We must also make sure that the current company tax is also improved. We broaden that base and bring more revenue from that side.
How is South Africa positioning itself to navigate what are challenging times right now across the world? I mean, we see the tariffs that have been imposed by the United States. We see commodity prices that are fluctuating. We see geopolitical tensions that are rising around the world. How does South Africa navigate that?
There are two elements to it. The first one is really negotiating with the USA. We can't avoid that. The second aspect of it is strengthening regional coordination and regional regional growth, so that in your own region you should be able to trade amongst yourselves. For example, as a region, we trade amongst ourselves about 12%. So we need to deepen that trade.
With the tariffs that have been imposed on South Africa and other countries in Southern Africa, what does that mean for the future of AGOA, which is, the preferential access which you have to the United States?
It's difficult to tell. For instance, we've got a SACU, a customs union which was established about 115 years ago. I mean, Lesotho does not have its own tariff. It does not set a tariff. The Lesotho tariff is set by us in South Africa, but Lesotho is punished. So we don't know how the USA works.
Has South Africa considered diversifying its export market?
No, all countries are doing that,
Yeah.
and South Africa is no exception.
So what are your plans in that respect?
As I'm saying, we've got a regional integration program, which is the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which we should be able to maximize and trade more with Africa than anything else.